So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, and their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted that we have with us Jimi Lund, who's the director at Story Film and Photography. So, Jimmy, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us. If you'd like to introduce yourself and story, what you do, and how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Thanks, Chris. So yeah, I'm Jimmy from Story Film and Photography. We're a video and photography company based in Keighley. Currently, that's what we do. In April, we'll probably start doing websites as well.
Right.
2024. But our specialist clients are usually in the healthcare and education sector. We do with predominantly corporate videos, but we try and have a less corporate slant and focus on more of a storytelling approach with our videos, with the idea being that we think it engages the audience in a better way.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if a CEO of a company wanted to speak about their company and what they do, rather than just doing a face-to-face interview with talking heads, we just sort of focus on a testimonial from a client who uses the company and why they're a good company, and get them to talk about the story of what their need was to come to the company in the first place and what difficulty they had to overcome.
Brilliant.
And then you get a much bigger experience of what the stories that the company's about, rather than just someone preaching to you.
Brilliant. Brit makes so much sense because people are interested in how we can solve our problems, not what we do. If that makes sense,
Yeah,
it's
we often try and focus. People often say like the what, or the how they do stuff, and we say no, we want to go on for the why. That's the most important thing.
brilliant. I'm guessing you're familiar with Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why, which is
I
great underlining of how just important it is, and it so is. I mean, I often say, Jimmy, that that good relationships, you have a match of goals, what you both want to achieve. That's a good relationship. That's, we're both heading in this direction. But great relationships are a match of values. We both believe the same things are important, and I think that's where,
Yeah.
for me, that's underlying us why Start with Why is so, and the why is so important, because if I align with you and your values, then we're probably going to get on really well.
Yeah, indeed.
Brilliant. So maybe if we start talking a little bit about your background, how you got into business, and why this particular one, Jimmy, if that's okay.
Okay, so when I left school with just one A level, sort of flunked all my A levels. All my friends went to university, and I was working in like dead end jobs, working in a ready meals factory. Came home one night. Went to work when it was dark. Came home and it was dark. Hadn't seen daylight. I was looking out my bedroom window. I think I was like 19, and I was thinking, what am I going to do with my life? I can't do this all my life. What do I really love? And I remember thinking, well, I love football and I love films, and I'm not good enough to be a footballer. So how do I somehow get into doing films? So I went to the what was then the National Photography and Film Museum in Bradford,
Yes, no,
and
well,
had a
yeah,
look around. Yeah, I had a little look around there. Went to the TV studio and had a look at all the stuff, and there was a bit where you could do vision mixing, live vision mixing. So there was three cameras filming, and you had to mix between the three cameras and cut between them. You put the headphones on, there's a director telling you to go
yeah,
to camera one, camera two. And I thought that looks really great. And I thought maybe I could be a vision mixer or match of the day and combine my two passions. That would be
brilliant.
amazing. So I remember like then just writing off 5 handwritten letters to vision mixers' names who came up on the telly on the credits. I just basically went to Joe Blogs, BBC TV, wrote them a letter saying, how did you get the industry? A stamped address envelope, and 4 out of the 5 replied to me and said, here's how I did it. This is what you need to do. And then it became apparent to me that I needed to go back to uni. I need to go to uni, but I needed to resit some A level. So I reset my levels. Well, I had to resit my English A level at night school. Did that, then got into uni at film school, and then never looked back really, and got in the industry.
Wowzers! What a great story, and what a great demonstration of, if you don't ask, the answer's always no. I mean, you just picked the names from the TV screen and said, "Can you help?" People love to help other people, and
I think that's when you see the best of humanity.
yes, yeah, and it really is. I've seen it in with so many people I've spoken to, and people that we might feel to be unapproachable would love to be approached. In fact, they suffer from not being approached because they appear to be, and it's just like if you just ask for help, it often appears. What a
Yeah.
wonderful story. So obviously, since then you've grown the business over time, and looking back over the growth that you've had, what would be some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome?
Well, so the story as a company, we're only like 5 years old.
Yep,
I sort of left university and then got into the industry, worked like in a production company in Leeds, and then worked as a freelance editor for a few years, and then went back to
yep,
doing filming as well, freelance cameraman, and then started to get a few clients, and then we set the company up. So I think a few people will probably say this is a relatively infancy as a business, but the hardest thing was like getting through COVID.
yes,
We've been going like I think 6 to 8 months. And obviously we had to battle with that, but we managed it by multitasking a bit. So we couldn't film anymore. We couldn't go to events and film stuff, but a lot of filming and photography is like the post-production side of things, the editing. So we do motion
yep,
graphics and animation. So we started touting ourselves a lot more for that. And a lot of people were sending us Zoom recordings to edit down and brand up as company branded stuff, So we did a lot more of that stuff working from home. My business partner had a background in copywriting, so we started doing some copywriting as well. So everything that we could do that was working from home really. And we just scraped enough money to get through with the government loan and what we had saved. And every time
brilliant.
the lockdown ended, we got really busy again for a month or two. Then the new lockdown came in, so
Yes,
we thought, well, the work is coming in when the lockdowns aren't there, so we just need to get through this, And then
yep.
we just sort of built from 2 to 3 to 4 to currently 6 now. So yeah,
Well done. It's tough. It's probably the toughest time. I often say looking back, we had sort of three such significant events over the last sort of 6 or 7 years that won't probably ever see something again. Brexit had an impact in many different ways for many different people.
yeah,
Lockdown and COVID, and then the war in the Ukraine has had
yeah.
different impacts on different people in different ways, and those sort of significant things I don't think it's likely I don't think we've seen before for many decades, if not years, and I doubt we'll see again for a little while.
Yeah, we really have had a proper triple whammy, haven't we?
Yes, we have. But on a celebration point, if you may or may not be aware of the stats, but the unfortunate stats are of over a 5 year period. The first 5 years of operation, 80% of businesses unfortunately don't survive,
Mhm.
and of the 20% that do, 80% of those fail in the following 5 years. So just getting in 5 years, you're in the top 20% of businesses in general. So that's
Yeah, yeah,
definitely a point of celebration.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and what would 5 years is a long period of time in business, because it is that those first 5 years are the most challenging. What would you put your success and resilience to in terms of continuing to grow?
I think couple of things. So when we took over, my business partner did the photography side of the business, and I did the video.
Yep.
And we were just two practitioners who, had a couple of interested clients who we did some work for, but we were still freelancing at other companies and stuff. And we've had to basically make that transition from not being practitioners to being business people. So
Yep.
trying to build a team, get the rest of the team to do the actual making of the product and us to become managers and go and win new business.
Yep.
And one of the most important things we did was at the start, we went to a couple of like free workshops on how to set up a new business, and so one on sales, one on other things. And the guy that was doing the sales one, we basically asked him if he could help come in as a consultant for us.
Great.
He said he was too busy, but he recommended a lady who basically came in, and I think she was like, one day a week to start with, and one day a fortnight. And she basically looked at our whole business and basically gave us a couple of books to read and said, right, so what's your working process? How does it go from the start, from the inquiry through to the finish? How do you do it? How do you log it? And nothing we thought about, and really put us in business mind,
Wonderful.
And she was great. And then after a while, I went to someone else as well, because this lady, she was great, but we want someone who'd actually built a business. She was like all great with the theory and everything, but she was nothing wrong with her. She was fantastic. We did get her back again, but this other guy had he was a consultant, but had run like a business with a turnover of 15 million, an agency, and and then exit strategy. So we're like, right, we want someone from that field now. And
Yep.
he gave us
Brilliant.
loads of advice. It really got us thinking on the right terms and the right level of what we need to be doing. So I'd recommend that to anybody that's starting a business, because becoming a business owner and thinking about running your business. For instance, we had, like, let's say we had 4 key clients when we first set up. The lady that came in, she said, right, your 4 key clients, right, great. How much are they bringing in? Looking at everything, and she said, right, what do you need to do next? And we were like, right, well, we need to get some more key clients, don't we? And she said, not necessarily. First of all, have you got everything you can get out of them? And we were like, well, we think so. She said, have you tried this? We tried this, we've spoken to that. What else? So, and then within about like 6 months, we doubled the income with the 4 key
Brilliant,
clients without actually finding any new key clients. And we're like, wow, okay,
brilliant,
we are learning a lot fast here, So definitely get a really proven business mentor, who has got some, back catalog, got some good reviews, and definitely.
brilliant. I mean, wonderful, and obviously, something we do is help businesses grow, and yeah, it's a funny thing. What you did it at quite an early stage, Jimmy. In often terms, I'm interested to know because I often say, I don't work. It's not directly a choice, but I often don't work with startup businesses because startup businesses at that point, this is what I say, haven't had, I said, the crap kicked out of them for a couple of years to realise that perhaps there's a better way. But you adopted that quite early, that view outward. What was in your mind at that point? Because I'm sure you had, lots of great ideas and beliefs, but what was the spark that made you think about going external?
I don't think I had thought about it really. It was really doing that free winning new sales course, which I think was the adventure grant funding thing. Adventure were doing it, and it was open to any new business. And it was because we just saw so much. Like, for instance, the guy who was running that was talking about the why, in sales,
Brilliant.
and like, okay, that's not something we'd ever thought about before. And so we then thought, right, we need someone like this to
Yeah,
advise us. So we approached him afterwards, and he said, like, okay, I'm not available, I'm
yeah,
too busy, but here's this lady that I would recommend. And then she came in, and
brilliant.
we instantly saw the benefit.
Brilliant. So I guess it's that, realizing that we don't know what we don't know, which is an obvious thing to say, but at an early stage,
Yeah, I think so. That made it apparent how much we had to learn, and that
yeah,
was maybe the light bulb moment we needed.
it's interesting because I often find people, we spend a lot of time learning about a lot of things, but lots of business people don't spend a lot of time learning about how to grow a business, which is, so it's great. It's great
Yeah.
that you've done both. So do you have any other? I mean, obviously you've had a couple of great mentors there. Is there any other key mentors within business or life in general that you would relate a lot of learning to?
Um, I don't think so. I think in terms of running the business, obviously in my career I was like sort of 15 years doing like freelance and stuff, and I just like learned a lot of within my industry of what I thought was somebody, because obviously I still have to manage my staff and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I learned good and bad ways of talking to people and got what good communication was, and I think,
Yes.
like, I'm in my 40s, so I think it was the right time in terms of, like, I feel like my communication skills are the best they've ever been, and I think I understand what people wanted to hear, like, and I think it
Right.
really helps having come from the practitioner background when I am trying to like oversee like the shoots and the edits or check stuff, I can feed back on them, and I know the issues that's evolved because I've done it,
Yeah.
been there before.
That makes absolute sense. And obviously, you've learned quite a lot, and you brought knowledge in. What would you say the biggest learnings you've had about growing a business? What are the things that stand out the most for you?
Um, the biggest things I've learned about growing the business. Um, that you there's a term I keep hearing that when we first started, when we were quite slow to take on our first employee, because it's a big, you feel like it's a big risk and a big jump, because
Very big
we,
jump.
although we probably had enough money in the bank to do it, we were like looking at, well, what if the work stops coming in and we have to let them go, and as I read an article, I think it was on the BBC website, about some business lady who was really successful, and she said she just wished that she'd taken on a first member of staff sooner. And
Yeah.
I said to a business partner, we were talking about this at the same time, and I just said, look, this is us. And so we said, like, let's take the plunge. Let's get someone in. And the first thing we needed was a video editor, because that takes up a lot of time out of your day when you're editing. A one day shoot can take 3 days of editing, just like out of the business.
Right.
Where, and another term I've learned is you've got to work on the business, not in the business. And we
Yep.
were working very much in the business.
Yeah.
We always get to a stage now. We're at a stage now where we're on the business, which is
Brilliant.
important. And so when we took that first plunge and got the editor, within a week, we knew that we'd made the right step. It was freeing us up so much to do other stuff, client relationships, keep stuff moving forward, find new work. And every time we've made a hire, it's always driven the business forward.
Yeah. Brilliant. It is a tricky one, and I know it's an obvious mathematical thing to say, but your first employee is going to have 10 times the impact of your 10th, on the business, because there's only one of them. You've got 100% of your workforce is one person, 100% of your workforce with 10 is 10 people, and so it is sensible. But yeah, it's amazing, that learning of taking the gap, and one of the things we always say is recruit somebody when you can half afford them, and their job is to make up the other half in many ways, and they create the vacuum of, we've got this person, we now need to make sure we can find some work for them to do. And recruitment tends to drive the business forward because of the need to service them and give them things to do.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's like, I suppose this does tie in with your question. It's like, one thing I've realized is, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's not one I suppose you're really familiar with unless you're in business. But people buy into people.
Yeah.
So, and you really do, your clients. That there are other video production companies out there who, are around the same ballpark figure as us and probably do the level of quality of work, that is very good. We are high end, that we do, and they could go to other companies, but fundamentally it's because they know us, they like us, and we keep delivering. And if that doesn't need to change, it's going to take something quite monumental for them to go with someone else.
Absolutely.
And if you have someone else, if you free yourself up to work on the business and work with your clients more, you can only strengthen those relationships. So that's really important. So if you've got, like you say, if you've got half the money to take someone on, think about the time that you'll have free to work with your clients so that they can get to know you better, and you find out their needs of what they need, so Brilliant. You can find more work.
Brilliant. Very wise words. And have you picked up any favorite quotes or sayings you have about business in general that you find yourself using in any sort of regularity? Sorry, Jimmy, I think we broke up a little bit there, but do you have any sort of favorite quotes or sayings that you've picked up over time that you find yourself using in business with any frequency?
That one where you have to work like on the business, not in the business, is one that we use quite a lot, actually. And so it's taken us 5 years, I think, to get to that stage where we're almost 100% being a business partner working on the business. We've always been getting every time we are with our business consultant that we had in the past, he was like, right, okay, so how much time are you spending doing the work? And we were like, well, we need to go out on a shoot, or this client just knows us on a freelance capacity, so they expect us to be there on the shoot. And now we've got it to the stage where they are happy with us to send our staff members on the shoots, and we just oversee the start of the process.
Brilliant.
And that's taken a bit of time, convincing the client, us going on the shoot with a member of staff and then showing that they're capable, we've trained them well, that kind of thing. And now they're trusted. So we're almost there now, I think. We're almost at the stage where we're almost 100% on the business.
Brilliant. And I mean, the interesting thing about that process is, for me, yes, obviously there are procedures, systems we need to put in place to make it happen, but it's a mindset change more than anything, an identity change, if that makes sense. We have to consider that, because we're taught from an early age in general that it's all about hard work hard and you do well, and so the brain sort of sees that as the more hours I do in doing what I do, the better. But it's literally that step back, working on is taking a step back, seeing the bigger picture, and getting there quicker, faster and more efficiently by working on it, not in it.
Yeah, and I think when you're working in it, you don't have the time to step back, and you're not
No,
working smart then. You're just doing the minutiae when you could be doing more important things.
absolutely. It's a difficult thing to do when I always say to people, we're up to our neck in muck and bullets. It's difficult to, as you say, slow down, take a step back, but all those things are the right things to do. And Jimmy, what would you say you learned about yourself as you've grown?
Um, I've learned that I am a stickler for quality. Um, so I like to make sure that my staff, like, I've checked everything before it comes to us to check. I try and get them to take responsibility for the stuff. But on the other side, I'm like, I've realized that I'm not too patient. Sometimes
Right,
I like them to, it's not all good stuff. Sometimes I've realized that I want to get stuff done quicker, and it's like
brilliant.
if I like um my staff to basically only need to be told once, and we've tried and instill, like, if they're not writing stuff down, if we're telling them twice, it's like, right, you need to be making a note on this, and we tell you so that you remember it. It's like, because it's everything is time. And if you're repeating stuff and wasting time, it's like the busier you get, the more the business grows, the less you have. And it's like
Yep,
everybody's got to. And we had a staff meeting, brought him into the staff meeting to look at the weekly stuff that ahead, and everybody was sat there with like their notepad and making notes. And he said, "Do you all take notes?" And we said, and one of the staff said, "Yeah, we've got to take notes." And he said, I stopped doing that when I was 7, and I thought, nah, mate, that's foolish.
yep.
You can't remember everything.
Can't remember everything. It's yeah, absolutely. This idea that we can is just nuts. Because and also, if we're trying to remember it, we're taking storage space up, aren't we? We're taking space up that we can use for other things.
Yeah,
And so we if we're walking around all day trying to remember lots of stuff, we haven't got a lot of capacity to do a lot of other better thinking. So absolutely makes sense. And so looking forward, we've had a successful growth so far. What does the future look like for you guys in the next few years, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
that's an interesting question. So I think in next year we'll be starting to do web development as well after April, which will be interesting.
Yep,
And then it's really, I think the challenge is to keep growing as we have been doing, and considering what we spoke about, like the trio of like things we've been hit with, it's quite, we've done well to keep growing, but
yes,
it's like I think the challenge is to maintain the quality.
yep,
So, the more busy you get, to make sure that the standards stay high, the existing clients that you've got don't get forgotten about and start seeing quality drop because you're chasing new business.
yep,
And that's what we try and instill and make sure we've got procedures in place so that doesn't happen.
brilliant. Very sensible. It's so easy to do. I see it so many times where business is successful, so people see it successful, want more of it, and we grow fast, we recruit people, but without the level of systems and processes, reporting, quality checks,
Yeah,
then that's when it can happen, and that's obviously a downward spiral. So we can spin up and then we can spin down again, which is a real shame. So no,
yeah.
very sensible. And what I'm keen to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now.
I don't think there's a wrong time to do it. I think I'd say if you if you if you believe in yourself, but also I think you've got to have a couple of things. You've got to be a stickler for quality.
Yep,
Your product's got to be good, whatever you're delivering. I think you've got to make sure that you've got processes in place that doesn't drop. So if there's some way that it always gets checked before it goes out the door,
yep,
whatever, or double checked. And um, if one does get through the net and it's not good and the client gets let down, make sure that you get them back on side immediately, offer them an apology, a refund, or
yep.
if you've got a good working relationship with them, they'll probably understand, because the have a little bit of charisma. If you've got a bit of charisma, and because people are buying into people, you need to. I always say a good client working relationship. Now, when we start a call on a new job, for 5 minutes we'll talk about how the families are. We've known that long. And it's like
Yeah.
you have a bit of a catch up, and that takes time to build. It takes time to grow.
Yes.
And those are the things that make us, people, and what we all missed when we were in COVID, not working and seeing people and talking. So.
Yeah.
And use LinkedIn religiously. Get yourself on there and post every day.
Brilliant. It's such a powerful tool, isn't it? I mean, it really is, allows any individual to have a really significant presence in a very, very cost effective and time effective way.
Yeah.
And if you started again, is there anything significant that you do differently, do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think I'd probably say no, because I think everything's been good so far. We've not really had any difficulties. We've grown year on year. I can't. If we'd had a bad year and something happened, I could probably say, right, we're trying to avoid that. But
yeah,
it would be foolish to change anything when it's all gone well. That's been another 5 years.
Yeah, no, it's a funny question. Somebody turned it around to me recently when I was doing one of these interviews, and my opinion is, if where you are is you're happy with, then if you change anything, you might not be here. So it's that ripple effect. So
Yeah.
we've got ultimately business is taking the good with the bad, isn't it? It's not always perfect. It's great that we get more wins and losses, but they do come, and it's just accepting that's lost. Failures, if we learn from them, can be successes. So there's no reason we shouldn't embrace them and accept them as they turn up. And finally, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back, or even a 19-year-old you if you could go back in time and do so?
Sorry, there's a notification. Let me just turn that off. I think in my head, I'm in my career, I feel like I'm 10 years younger than I am in my actual age, because I was 30 when I finished uni and actually got into my field of work.
Yep.
So I do wish that I just kind of worked a bit harder when I was younger and started a bit younger, to get going a bit quicker. So I'd just say, try and see the value of work and schoolwork. It might not be directly relevant to what you might do in your career, and it's so hard to tell the youth this, because they never realize it when I try and tell this to my daughter, and it's
I'm going to send this to my daughter.
Yeah, but it shapes you as a whole, or what you're going to become in the future.
I think education in general, a massive part of education is creating a system for doing work effectively. I think alongside you learn things, but as you sort of referenced in many ways, a lot of things you learn aren't necessarily going to be something you draw on later on. Wise words. I will send this clip to my daughter, but whether or not she listens to it, who knows? You can't.
Yeah.
I think
she will.
Yeah, absolutely. Teenagers know everything, so there's no point even trying to put any more in. Jimmy, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. It's been really fascinating, interesting, and really well done on the successes you've had so far. And it'd be great to maybe swing by another 6-12 months and just see what the next stage is. Obviously, post website, bringing on web development as being part of what you do. And for anyone that's watching right now that'd like to get in touch with you or Story, what would be the best way to do that?
I would say drop us an email on info@storyfp foxtrotpapa.co.uk.
Brilliant. Well, I say thanks so much for your time. It's been great, and in the spirit of the great jumper you've got on, because I know it's Christmas jumper day. Merry Christmas, and thank you.
Same to you.
Cheers.